Fears of contracting COVID, airport chaos, and lack of available flights. These are the reasons many travelers said they started flying privately during the pandemic. In fact, so many people made the switch. Private jet companies said they were struggling to keep up with demand. But what about now? What about next year? New data shows that nearly everyone new to the industry say they plan to stick with it. In a survey published by Private Jet Card Comparisons, 94% of respondents said they plan to fly privately in the future. They also said they may not be doing it as much as before, though. Now, the percentage who said that they'll continue to use private aviation regularly dropped from 57% last year to 40% this year. And the number who said they'll fly occasionally when the pandemic ends increased from 43 to 55%. Now, about 6% said post-COVID they plan to stop altogether, but that's up from 0 who said the same last year. So why the change of heart? Flyers are indicating it has less to do with COVID and more to do with costs. Now, the majority of those surveyed said they aren't leaving the industry yet, but they are considering changing providers because of increased prices. Others cited customer service, blackout days, as well as lack of communication and the lead time that's required to book a private flight. But look at the top of this list again. 34% said they're considering changing companies because of flight delays, changes, and cancellations. Incidents which are estimated to have more than doubled last year as the industry struggled to serve so many new customers. Now, the problem here is that this cuts to the very reason why many people say they fly privately in the first place, which may convince more people to switch back to commercial flights in the future.
So it's interesting. If you look at the NetJet model and the other private jet operators that are around, if you, I and Christine group together and we want to take all our families to, let's say, Bali on a private jet, would it work out cheaper if we all group together compared to a commercial flight?
I think there are incidences of that, especially if you are paying up to fly business. And so it really depends how many people are in your family. What are the prices of business flights? As we know, we've discussed business flights. Prices right now have been really through the roof. And so it really does depend. I was just talking to Sam in the back who said somebody recently found they could fly cheaper going to Europe because they were moving because they had to immigrate with the dog. And paying for the dog to have to quarantine, that just put it over the edge. Flying a charter jet was actually cheaper.
Pet jets.
No. I've tried, commercial flights because things are opening, all right, but they charge for every single item. So there's a new model of costing and charging the passenger. So you book the seat is one thing, but if you want to upgrade to the front row, there's another cost involved. And you want to get an exit seat, there's another cost involved. So it adds up. So what you pay on, the final price is actually 10 times, or it could be 5 times more than what you actually is stated up front, right? So you are right, increased costs as well. And that's going to probably have investors thinking twice about, maybe we should switch to private. Maybe that's the thing, especially in business as well.
Absolutely. And I think what we're seeing here is that whether you're paying $200 for a ticket or you're paying $20,000, increased costs are affecting everybody in some way, no matter what your price point is.
Let's talk to the man in the thick of it all. Thomas Flores, founder and chairman of Vista, joining us from Dubai. Thomas, good to have you with us. You're really taking off here. I got to ask you, a lot of people are calling it revenge travel after the pandemic. Where is most of the pent-up demand coming from you?
Well, we see the biggest demand really in terms of growth. We see in the United States. And we're certainly seeing it in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia seeing a huge rebound over the last 12 months. And we have a threefold of new members that signed up with us in Vista over the last 12 months in Southeast Asia alone.
Has the profile of your clients changed after the pandemic?
Yeah, I think more and more corporations are signing up. I think corporations do not want to go CapEx anymore, meaning buying an airplane. I think flexibility today in today's world is key. And with us, you just subscribe. You don't need to buy a fraction of an airplane. You just buy the hours you need in a simple subscription business model. So corporations are signing up at an unprecedented pace with Vista. And that's all around the world, not only in Asia and the United States, but also Europe and the Middle East.
Thomas, could I ask you, are you hearing anything from your long-term clients saying that maybe if some of the new people do decide to return back to commercial aviation, would they be glad to hear it because they're ready to get back to business as usual? Or has that ship sailed?
Well, I think the airlines are struggling to serve the second tier and the third tier cities. And that's really where usually entrepreneurs go and explore the opportunities to expand their own businesses. And I think business aviation really offers this opportunity to serve, nonstop point to point. And that's really the time saving and obviously from a health perspective, the most efficient and safest way to travel. So we don't see business aviation slowing down at all. We've seen that peak last year and into this summer. But if I look at the growth rates and the pace at which new members are signing up, it's certainly here to stay. Because remember, corporations are signing up 3 years in advance with us. So that's a big commitment to go out and commit. Commercial aviation is still struggling with changing airports. The direct routes are not available as they used to be pre-pandemic. And I think that's really driving business towards business aviation.
Thomas, I understand that earlier this year, Southeast Asia was commanding most of the busiest routes in Asia Pacific as a whole. Of course, Northeast Asia was closed at that time. But I'm also told that movement from China, meaning ultra high net worth people, have been moving down to Southeast Asia and that they're bringing their travel habits with them. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think you're spot on with this. Singapore has been the hotspot in Asia. Of course, Northern Asia has been closed to a large extent, but there is an influx into Southeast Asia, Singapore leading that. 376% year-over-year growth is what we have seen in terms of flight to Singapore alone. Those are stunning figures. And that alone is 40% higher than pre-pandemic in 2019. So those figures speak for themselves, and that's the service we need to provide. I think the other element really, which we see, is that Vista has taken delivery by now of 16 Global 7500s. Southeast Asia, where it is geographically, wants to be connected nonstop to America, nonstop to Europe. And that's where you do need that aircraft flying 16, 17 hours nonstop. And that really has been the shining star in the Vista fleet serving Southeast Asia with that nonstop capability of the Global 7500.
Thomas, specific question on Thailand. How strong is the post-pandemic comeback there?
We see strong tourist travel into and out of Thailand. That is a market that is, more tourist related than maybe business related. There is a certain portion of business, but certainly similar comeback numbers. Not as strong as Southeast Asia, but certainly on the map.